lovies. Okay, so we've had a couple of episodes, these last few, a little bit, I don't know, I was just feeling like they were, lots of information, lots of kind of heavy hitting ideas. And I was just aching for something a little more cozy and dropped back and in my woo mystical side. So, in this episode today, I am going to be talking with you guys about the heart, I think, of what's helped me the most. I mean, as much as I give you all of these tools and all of these ideas and all of these concepts, as I was thinking back over what's actually helped me stay with my journey the most, what's helped me keep the thread throughout all of it, keep coming back to myself, go through the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of my journey. And what I came back to was my tarot practice, which I've already given you guys that gorgeous PDF. I've been hearing back from some of you. Thank you for reaching out and telling me how much you're loving all of it. It makes me so happy to hear that. And today I'm going to drop you into another practice that I have that, just like my daily tarot spread, keeps me grounded in the overarching themes and intentions I have for my life. So this practice came out of the Pattern app. I created it myself, but it was inspired by the Pattern app. As you guys know, I've mentioned that app before. And I'm definitely, on this episode, going to be talking about it and, recommending all of you to give it to yourself as a gift. I pay for their yearly subscription and I love it. One of the reasons that I love it the most is that a couple years ago, they started putting out audios every 2 weeks with the full moon and the new moon. They now actually do an audio for every cycle of the moon. So just about every week, there's an audio for the different moon cycles. But when that first started, I began pulling cards from this gorgeous, gorgeous deck. If you're watching me on YouTube right now, you're getting to see it. Those of you that have it are probably squealing with delight. But it's a deck by Kim Kranz called The Wild Unknown. And it is so witchy, wonderful, amazing. By far, this has been the oracle deck that I have used the most for understanding just the deeper parts of myself. And I think this is something that I don't know about you guys. I was not raised in a very creative, artistic family. And so art was not really something I thought of as being important. And I didn't really have a lot of like this, the amount of art I now have in my space through my tarot cards, through my oracle cards. I've realized how important it is for us to have visual indicators. Art conveys things that often our words just can't do in the same way. And for me, the visual seems to stick a little bit longer too. So I had this gorgeous deck. I was wanting to use it more. And in her guidebook, she has this beautiful spread that she created. I'm going to pop over to it in the book. Yeah, it's the spread called The Inner Quest. And it's a 4-card spread. You guys, obviously 4 is like my magic number. That's the spreads I always choose. But in this spread, the 4 cards represent who, where, with what, and why. And the spread is supposed to be about this journey that you're going on, right? This inner quest. And so, of course, realizing that when the new moon happens, there are 2 weeks, and then you hit a full moon, and then there's 2 weeks, and then it repeats. I wanted to create a ritual that would help me as I was listening to those audios on the pattern, they would talk about the importance of setting intentions during the new moon. And they would talk about, whatever sign the new moon was in, the energy that was coming through. And I would take time to journal and write down like words that stood out to me or things that I wanted to focus on for those 2 weeks. And then when the full moon would come, it would be like, okay, here's the next set of intentions for the next 2 weeks. And I think I've mentioned, this is kind of like coming around in my brain that I've mentioned this before, just how important it is to be setting intentions in a more structured way, right? My tarot cards for the day, I don't feel like they're intentions as much as they're just kind of like, hey, here's what's going to be happening today. But when I have these bigger overarching themes for the next 2 weeks, I find that I do more personal work. I stay more grounded in my journey and I grow a lot more because I'm paying attention. And as much as the audios were helping and, writing down my intentions, where things really started to take off is when I started using this deck and that inner quest spread at the beginning of every full moon and then with the new moon. So I wanted to share with you guys, which I'll be talking about the different cards that I had for these last 2 weeks, just kind of explaining what it does for me using this spread every 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, we had a new moon. I believe it was in Aries. I think this month's energy is Aries energy. So what I'll do is I'll pull up the audio on the day that the new moon happens. I listen to it. I just kind of ground in. I soak up whatever's coming through. And then I pull out my Oracle deck. And I have in this deck, the cards split into these 4 different, she'll teach you how to do it in the deck, but they're actually split into these 4 different sections, which is one of the things I love the most about this Oracle deck is that her cards are split up by the selves, the places, the tools, and the initiations. I'm so geeking out about this. I'm so geeking out about this, y'all. And in fact, this is making me really want, she has another gorgeous deck that I've been wanting for a while. And I'm like itching at the moment. I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to treat myself to another one of her decks, maybe a new deck for this year. So the way my deck is split, I don't actually use this deck in my everyday Oracle reading. I have a different deck for that. I keep this one split into those 4 sections. And then after I've listened to the audio, I pull out those 4 sections and I shuffle and kind of calling in the energy of what my guides and the universe, the one source, which is just ultimately, God, me. I am God. God is me. I'm the one. We're all part of it. I connect into that and then I pull a card from each of them. So the cards that I've had for the last 2 weeks, which actually by the time you guys are hearing this audio, this is going to be way, way out because we're hooking up Alex while she's in Europe. So this new moon would have been, at the beginning of April with Aries, and the cards that I pulled. So for the self, I pulled the Unseen card, which is this gorgeous. That's the other thing I love about Kim Kranz is her artwork is so edgy and mystical. The Unseen card has this eye with all of these like little dots around it. Yeah, you guys are just going to have to go watch this episode on YouTube because I'm showing it right now on the video. Really beautiful, mystical card. I love the Unseen. I love also her guidebook has such deep, just the way she writes really resonates with me. So the archetype I was going to have for who I was going to be for these 2 weeks was the Unseen. The place, the where I was going to be doing the work was in the Ocean card. This is one of my absolute favorites. Every time this card comes up, I love it. It has a lot of deep connections to the unconscious. The tool that I was going to be using was the Venom. Right when I pulled this card, I was like, oh, okay, universe. And then the why, which is like the overarching theme or big like life lesson that I'm going to be dropping into was gnosis or gnosis. I never say it correctly. Anyways, this is also a really beautiful card about like deep spiritual realizations. So, looking at all of these cards together, what I do then is I have my cards lined up on my wall. After I read, I drop in with them. They then get put up on my wall right across from my bed. And I have something that clips them, but you could easily use like that putty, that poster putty, and they stay there for the 2 weeks. And I cannot tell you guys how wonderful it is when I am going through stuff over these 2 weeks to have my eyes land on those images and to be like, oh, that's right. Okay. So, where I am connecting in right now in myself is connecting in with the unseen. Oh, that's right. And I'm doing this work this week in the ocean. So there's going to be a lot of deep unconscious kind of work. Oh, that's right. And the tool I'm using is the venom, which really informed me this last 2 weeks. It helped me when I knew, okay, I'm doing a lot of work with venom, and you'll have to go read the card. In fact, maybe I'll just read this one to you guys because this is my drop in and just gush with you guys about stuff that I'm vibing over at the moment that will hopefully inspire you as well. I'll read you the venom one because I really, really love. I love that her deck doesn't shy away, just like the tarot. The tarot doesn't shy away from the death card or the 10 of swords. Like, I feel so passionately now as I've learned more about this side of life, which I feel like these tools are a lot of what the divine feminine uses. And not to mean that that is, a gender, right? It's more the yin of the world, the dark of the world, that side that typically the patriarchal, more masculine world we've lived in that has the yang has made evil or bad or tried to shun. But I love that there are these darker, quote, negative 50 sides within all of these decks. And the venom card is kind of one of those. So it says the venom, the poison, the curse, the toxin. Much to our dismay, the venom is always lurking in the shadows in one form or another. Its toxic presence may be found in our relationships, thoughts, speech, or environment. Thankfully, the cycle of purification and detoxification comes so naturally that it's built into our every exhale. We breathe out carbon dioxide, and the plants return it to us as oxygen. Archetypal venom is rarely remedied as easily, however, and it can come in potent forms and quantities that are deeply damaging to us and to the world. When the venom card appears, there is a harmful substance in our psychic realm that must be identified. Perhaps your words have a sting of poison about them. Perhaps a relationship is slowly draining your reserves. Acknowledgement is the first step. Change is the second. The remedy will reveal itself in time, and with it, forgiveness. So, knowing that my tool these 2 weeks was the venom, y'all can bet I was much more intentional about noticing where, as she says, I have harmful substances in my psychic realm. And I'm just going to say I'm proud of myself to admit that I have gone and done some deep work around harmful beliefs I have, especially. So this is the other like magical piece that comes in as well when you're doing this is not only, so now I've got this like spread that I know is for my 2 weeks. I know what I'm working with. I know kind of what the end result's going to be, the gnosis. Then the pattern continues to give you audios and things as you're going through the 2 weeks. And right now, there is this aspect happening in astrology involving the planet slash asteroid, people call it different things, called Chiron, which is all about the wounded healer. And y'all, as I go listen to that audio this morning, I'm like, fuck yeah, this is exactly the work I'm doing right now. And having that piece come in, which by the way, where we're at right now, so it's April 11th when I'm recording this. And actually tomorrow is the full moon for this month. So everything will be shifting. I'll be pulling new cards. But in realizing, oh, I'm working with the venom right now. And then getting this audio that came through today talking about this wounded healer aspect and Chiron. And I actually have Chiron in my birth chart. When you go start understanding all of these pieces, it's like caring so much more about what you are and how you interact with your world than I ever did previously. I think in Mormonism and religion, I was taught to just be like a part of the machine. My job was to be a good wife, to be a good mother. I really was not taught to be introspectively connected to myself, to my desires, to what I wanted, to my own personal growth outside of like growing within the constraints of the rules of Mormonism. Follow the rules, make sure you're not sinning, make sure you're repenting, make sure you're doing all the things. But none of those things were actually coming from me. They were all externally dictated. So reclaiming that right to have a connection, my own personal, it looks the way I want it to look, connection with the divine, that gets to be facilitated through my own tools, which as I'm sharing with you guys, right? Tarot is a huge piece of that. The pattern app is a huge piece of that. I love how deeply they take you into your own birth chart. As I've studied more of that, as I've thought about myself more through that lens, I feel so much more of myself has come online. And then connecting in with all of these beautiful oracle decks that I have. The other oracle deck that I'm using this year, I think I've mentioned it previously a little bit, is the Hero's Journey. I'll have Alex link it. I can't remember who the there's a collab on that one. The artwork's really beautiful. The words are really awesome. But having those be my tools in my spiritual practice has given me the support and framework to stay in the journey, to stay with the growth, to expand what I see myself doing here into the bigger kind of mythic realms of the unconscious and the one. And I just want to acknowledge and say that I know some of you may be coming from religious backgrounds, or perhaps you've left religious backgrounds. And for a while there in my journey, I did not delve into any of this. I really needed space actually to just kind of deprogram from anybody sharing anything with me or any kind of ideas of the divine or something bigger. But now, at this point in my journey, I have started to realize how incredibly grounding and supportive having physical practices in your life that connect you to something that feels supportive for you can be. These last two episodes I've shared with you, right, talking about the great marriage, right? This goal that we want, this thing that I know for myself, I want to experience. I think many of you do. And then this other episode about like why you can't let go, coming off of both of those, I was like, yeah, but what actually helps them make that daily or 2-week long changes? It's when you start having practices in your life that ground you and keep you connected to something bigger than yourself that feels supportive. Because fuck if this journey is not really difficult. I know from my own experience what it's been like to have to be there for myself, to have to find resourcing in myself, to clear out people who were not secure bases and to welcome in new. And so my hope is that with this episode and kind of sharing with you guys this specific practice, right? Listening to the patterns, new moon, full moon audios. You can even listen to their audios in between. I often just don't have enough extra energy to listen to the whatever the like crescent or in between ones are. But at least doing it on the new moon and the full moon and pulling these 4 cards. So I've had my 4 cards for the last 2 weeks. I've seen so beautifully how in seeing these images, knowing these aspects of my journey, it's helped me immensely to dive in deeper in certain areas, be supported in different ways. Now, tomorrow with the full moon, I get to listen to a new audio, set new intentions, and pull new cards that will then support and carry me through the next 2 weeks. Don't underestimate this. Okay. It sounds so small, but it is one of the most beautiful ways to introduce magic, color, art, the more like mystical, right brain parts of our lives into your journey, into this process that I talked about last episode, right? How do we make the process yummier? This is one of those ways. So I hope to hear back from you guys. I'm going to be, like I said, on Instagram this month by the time you guys are listening to this. So once this episode drops, like DM me, let me know if you have gone and gotten your Kim Kranz deck or you have gifted yourself a subscription to the pattern. Message me, tell me about it. And of course, I'm going to want to hear back. I would be super fun is you guys taking pictures of your 4-card spreads on new moon or full moons and sending them to me because I would love to see them. So that's my episode for this week. Sending you all so much love, so much magic with this episode. And maybe a couple of, purchases from your local crystal shops, a new deck, potential pattern app audios coming to you soon. Love y'all.